Our international webinar, I guess most of you know that schedule is your lifeline. So I'm giving smaller tolerance. We just had a webinar now in Bulgarian 2 hours ago with all kinds of work and travel students, which was very exciting. We had about 80 people all together listening, and I'm definitely warmed up. Already did the part once, and know exactly what I'm going to be talking about. Good to see everybody. Today we're going to be talking on how to get the most out of your traveling and stay in the summer. It's exciting, and we would cover a lot of things. That's why I'm recording the call. I had a couple of people reaching out to me, is asking if it would be possible to have a recording because they wouldn't be able to join. So after the meeting, I'm gonna upload the recording, and you can share it with some friends. But basically, we're going to be talking when traveling to the US. But in general, the information I'm going to share is very helpful for people who want to know about traveling, how to do it in the best way. And I always tell people, okay, so that's what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about the flight to the US, banks, phone and internet, shopping, end of summer traveling, and how to exchange your money once the summer is over. And I always tell people, be careful who you're taking advices from, because nowadays there is a lot of gurus and a lot of experts. Why I decided to organize this webinar, I've done 12 summers in the US, been to 22 states in the US, and I've visited 56 countries on 6 continents. Not only that, I love learning and figuring out the best systems. So I totally believe that if you guys pay attention, you would learn a couple of very, very helpful things that you can use pretty much for the rest of your life. With that being said, it has like 73 slides. I did hour and 10 minutes the previous time, and it's a lot of information. That's why probably you're going to have to watch a recording to get the most out of this meeting. With that being said, let's get started. Everybody can hear me okay, correct? All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do a recording. I'm gonna put it on YouTube, and I'll put a link on my Instagram as a story. So if you guys do not follow me yet, it would be a good thing if you put Emil Tsvetkov. I should be one of the first to pop up. That's my Instagram page, and on a story, I'll put a link to the recording of this meeting if you want to watch it second, third time to get the most out of it and take some good screenshots, because you would need some screenshots here. But getting started, flying to the US, we would look first at the documents that you need when you're going on your work and travel, no matter if it's Southwestern or another work and travel. You always need to have a couple essential things. The first one, of course, is your international passport with the visa stamped, but you also need your DS 2019. Do not forget the DS. It's a very important document. Without it, chances are you're not going to be allowed to enter the US. Your service receipt, job offer, and you need to be able to show a return ticket. You don't need to print out the tickets, of course, but having it on your phone and being able to show it would be something pretty important, because you may be asked when you're entering the US for that. Now, the first big thing that I'm going to talk today about is how to collect miles with the loyalty programs of the different airlines. In reality, there are 3 global airline alliances. It's Star Alliance, SkyTeam, and One World. What that means is that no matter which airline you're flying with, you're pretty much 9 out of 10 cases gonna fall up in one of those. So they made these big alliances so they can cooperate together and have loyalty programs together. That's something a friend of mine, Peter Burgess, taught me like 12 years ago. And I've been having a great time with those loyalty programs. And I'm gonna tell you what the perks are. But basically, the main thing is that if you become a member, you can become silver, gold, platinum. But even as a silver member on the loyalty programs, you get second bag for free. And you have the rights to having 32 kilos instead of 23 kilos. People who have been to the US, they know that you always need those kilos on the way back because you always have a lot of luggage. So that's good stuff. What are the 3 main alliances? The first one is Star Alliance. The main company here is United, but also in Europe, very famous is, Lufthansa and Turkish and Of course, sometimes you use LAT, and you see all the airlines that get in here. The second one is SkyTeam, with the main airline here being Delta, but probably the most famous in Europe is KLM, the Dutch one, Air Italia, Air France, depending, of course, where you're flying the most. And the third big airline is American. So after the meeting, what I would advise you, so if you see here like altogether 50 different airlines, you guys shouldn't do 50 different loyalty programs. You just pick the most important one. I would suggest United, Delta, and American, and make your loyalty program there. Extremely easy and simple. You put United loyalty program, it's gonna show up, you go and you register in less than 3-4 minutes. You do the same for Delta and American. So every time when you're flying with a airline that's in this family, you only use the main one's loyalty program number. So if you're flying Czech Airlines, in this case, you're gonna use Delta. If you're flying Air France, you use Delta. Why? Because it's much better to have, let's say, 25,000 miles in one account than having 5,000 miles in 5 different accounts. Now here, I want to make it clear that if you're only flying in Europe, the main airline might be Lufthansa, KLM, and British. But since we are going to the US, I'm telling you United, Delta, and American. So every time you fly with any of those airlines, use the main airline's code so you can put miles in one place. Becoming silver or gold member, it gives you free updates. Sometimes they would put me, in a better seat. I have the luggage allowance and so on and so on. So that's a good stuff. You guys should take 10 minutes after the call, register, my suggestion, United, Delta, and American. And then what you're gonna do is you are gonna put it in a note. I'm gonna show you how, and you have it. And when you go check in, you use this code and you get those air miles. It's the same with hotels, rentals, and pretty much with everything. Almost every single business have loyalty programs if it's international, and you should be collecting points and becoming a valuable member. Now, the main hotel chains in the world, Bonvoy is the biggest problem. That's Marriott. There is Hilton Honors, AIG, IHG, World of Hyatt, Accor, and so on. Now, you might be thinking, when I was a student getting started, I would never stay in those fancy hotels. So it might be like, why would I even register? I never stayed there. That's not exactly correct, because we are going to go for sales school, for example, and you can use your code because you were staying in a Marriott property, so you can get some points. But many of the people just don't have points, so they don't collect those ones. The cheapest chains in the US are La Quinta and Motel 6. They have loyalty programs as well. So check this out. That's the Bonvoy, the Marriott one, and there is like 30 different brands in Bonvoy. So whenever you're staying in one of those, you collect points. And I'm going to give you an example. For my honeymoon, we went with Marie to Maldives, and then we stopped by at Abu Dhabi for like 4 days. And literally, I registered the day before we arrived. I had 0 points. But just because I registered and I was like a preferred member for Intercontinental, IHG, they upgraded us to a better room and they gave us free Wi-Fi, when in general we were supposed to pay for the Wi-Fi for some reason in Abu Dhabi. So with 0 points, I got 2 upgrades on my very first stay. So it's always better to be a member. So I would register in all those main ones. And whenever you're staying in some kind of a property, collect the points and you have benefits. It's a good thing. I would make one note on my phone or iPad, and I would lock it. Very easy to lock. If you guys don't know how to lock a note, you just keep and hold it and lock note, either with a passcode or face recognition. And I have all my loyalty programs in one place. It's very easy to get confused. I even put my passwords there, but in a code way, because I have standard and like I have 3 different passwords, and I would put the passwords there, but it would be standard or standard plus this and that. Standard plus this and that. So people don't know what's my standard. So even if they break into my passwords and frequent flyer numbers, they cannot understand what my passwords are, because I coded it in a way that only I understand it. But having it in one place is very important. So many of you maybe have traveled so far. I'm going to go to some basics and some pretty advanced stuff. When you're flying international flight, be at the airport 2 hours upfront. Do not compromise on that. At the end of one of the summers, I was like, oh, whatever, I'm going to make it to the airport. I have time. And I ended up running like crazy to catch my flight. And I was like with 4 bags at the end of the summer, of course. And I get on the plane and I'm all sweaty and miserable. And I'm like, I'm never going to do that again. I always make it 2 hours up front. I remember traveling on January 3rd to Cuba from Sofia. And I was like, no one's going to be at the airport, but whatever. I always go 2 hours before the flight. And there was like 150 people checking in. So I was going to miss my flight to Cuba. And that was going to be a very expensive flight to buy again. So always be there 2 hours before the flight. You need to go check in, go to security, and go to the gate. When you go to check in, of course, there is screens. It tells you where you can go check in. You have a big luggage, 23 kilos, 8 kilo small suitcase, and a personal bag. Sometimes people get confused that they only have either small suitcase or bag. You actually have both. I know that a lot of airlines are like 10 kilos, but Lufthansa are 8 kilos, and they've actually asked me in the past to measure my small suitcase kilos, so you don't want to get in trouble. I always try to go to the US with less luggage. I literally go with 15 kilos total because I know I'm going to be buying stuff and I'm going to be bringing stuff back. And especially if you're doing Southwestern summer, you don't need too many things. So, the small bag, my backpack is always like 10, 12 kilos. They never measured it, but I put a lot of heavy stuff there because they would never ask me to measure my backpack. Then when you go to check in, that's when you give your loyalty program number. You can type it in when you're booking. If you're booking the flight yourself, you can type it in there. It says like frequent flyer number. If not, when you're checking in, you say like, hey, by the way, I registered, I have a loyalty program number. Can you please put it in? And they put it in. I would personally advise you to set a reminder the first 2 or 3 times because many people make loyalty program number, but they go and they forget because it's early in the morning, they're excited, they're confused, so they forget to use it. So the first 2, 3 times you do it, then you build the habit and it's going to be easy. But set a reminder if you're flying on May 29th, for example, 6 a.m., set a reminder, put loyalty program number. So when you make it to the airport, you don't forget about it. Then you go to security, straightforward, hand luggage, no liquids. You always take computers separately. Get everything out of your pockets, belts, everything that's metal. And the screens are going to show you then what gate you're taking off from. You have that on the boarding pass as well. I'm going to basic, and then there will be more advanced stuff as well, but want to make sure that everything is covered. How to save money? Bring your own food. Bring your own food. Don't buy food from the airports. That's one of the easiest ways to waste money. You can bring pretty much everything but cans. You can bring sandwich, waffle, candies, whatever you want. You have the rights to do it. But since cans have metal, you cannot go to a security check. All kinds of packed sausages or meats, they may be taken away as well. So you don't want to do that. When entering the US, you shouldn't have fresh fruit and vegetables. Once we were going from Costa Rica and we had some mangoes, bananas, whatever fruits, and they stopped me at the entry of the US and they took me to another lane to investigate me more. And then the next 3, 4 times that I was getting in the US, they were always taking me for extra check, which was very annoying and it was time wasting. And I was gonna miss some of my flights because of this extra waiting at a customs office was quite ridiculous. Sometimes, of course, moms and grandmas have the great idea of giving you a jar of honey so you stay healthy during the summer. I had one of my friends and roommates with a jar of honey, and since they're throwing the bags all the time, it broke down and the honey was all over the place. So maybe not the best idea to get a jar of honey. You can buy honey in the US easily. Price at the airport, easily, sandwich is like 20 plus bucks. So if you buy it at home, obviously it's going to be much cheaper. Just on the way to US, you can easily spend 50 plus bucks until you get there. And if you buy those stuff at home, it's going to be like 10 bucks. So don't waste your money with food on the airports. Connecting flights, how much time do you need? I took the flights of one of our girls here in Bulgaria. So we usually do something like Sofia doesn't have direct flight to the US. So we will do Sofia, Frankfurt, Frankfurt, Chicago, Chicago, Nashville. Now, when you fly to a European bigger country, usually it's pretty easy to connect. Like let's say Frankfurt Airport, it's a 10-15 minute walk. And then by the time people get out of the plane, it's another 10-15 minutes. So you need to go straight to the gate, but hour and 5 minutes should be fine. But when arriving in the US, you need at least 2.5 hours. At least 2.5 hours. Why? Because when you get in the US, first you need to recheck your luggage. So if you're doing Bulgaria, Germany, Chicago, Nashville, in Germany, I don't do anything about my big luggage. But arriving in the US, when I get off the plane, I need to get my luggage, find the belt that it's gonna arrive at, take it, recheck it, go to customs, and then change the terminal to domestic flights. Customs could be only 50 people, it could be 500 people. So if you don't have much time and there is like a heck a lot of people, what do? There is a way to skip the line, but you need to do it the right way. You need to ask everybody individually. The approach you have is like, excuse me, I have a flight in an hour. Do you mind if I go ahead? Excuse me, I have a flight in an hour. Do you mind if I go ahead? Excuse me, I have a flight in an hour. Do you mind if I go ahead? And you need to ask everybody going straight forward. If you just keep people without asking, you may make it to the front, but they may send you to the back. Say like, hey, you didn't get anyone's agreement, so go to the back. So you need to like keep asking and keep going. And of course, you're gonna get to the person who is like, I have a flight in 40 minutes as well. What can you do about it? And I'm like, hey, you're not gonna make it. Come with me. Let's go together. So usually, if I'm on the way to catch a flight, I just take like 3-4 people with me because they're like, I'm gonna miss my flight as well, but what can you do? And I'm like, just come with me. Come on, let's go. And people are like, yeah, go ahead, make it. Let's do it. So they even encourage you to keep going. So you can make it even with shorter connection, but I mean, 2.5 hours is what I'm gonna advise you when you're booking your flights. And then you need to change terminal. So you catch the local train and it tells you to the other terminal. You just look for the signs. So you guys are not really gonna get lost as long as you keep cool and you use your brain and you're looking for the signs, you're gonna make it to the right place. Did you know that you can actually always ask for more food on your flights? Unless you're traveling low cost, Ryanair, EasyJet, and Wizz Air here in Europe, of course. But on your international flights, you can always ask for more food. It's very simple. People don't care. They have more food. So you're like, hey, I was wondering, did you happen to have an extra snacks by any chance? They're like, sure, here it is. So when they're coming and they're giving you, or they're asking you, do you want water or tea? May I have both, please? I'm a little indecisive. May I have both? Sure, go ahead. So you can always, or you go back at the plane to where the flight attendants are, and you're like, hey, I was wondering, did you happen to have an extra sandwich by any chance? Sure, go ahead. So you can get more drinks, more food. There is not really limit on what you can get if you ask for it. And what happens if you miss your flight? Imagine that the flight from Europe got delayed and you miss your flight in the US. No worries. If it's because of a delay of the first flight, you're going to be rebooked for the next flight for free. So once I missed my flight in the US and I was very worried, like, oh my gosh, I need to buy a new ticket. What am I going to do? They just rebook you on the next flight. Even if it's because of them being delayed the flight and you need to stay overnight, they're going to book a hotel for you for free. But you need to ask for that. Because obviously, if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. But you're like, hey, do I get a hotel for free? Now, if there was a bad storm or bad weather, they count it as an extraordinary conditions. So they wouldn't give you a hotel for free. But you always ask. So if you miss your flight, let's say you're in Chicago and you missed your flight, you go to the customer service desk at the airline you're with, and they're going to rebook you for the next flight. What kind of sucks is that, let's say, if there is a storm or bad weather, you may be waiting there for a while. Sometimes it's 30 minutes, but the most I spent was in like Los Angeles. There was a big delay and big storm, and I waited for like 6 hours to get rebooked. So that's not nice, obviously, but that's how you do it instead of buying a new ticket. Your suitcase is damaged, delayed, or lost. If it's damaged, you just do a claim, and they're going to give you either cash or a different suitcase. They may give you a suitcase right at the spot, new suitcase, or they may give you money later on in your bank account. Here's a cool thing that probably you don't know. If your suitcase is delayed, you can say like, hey, I'm going to a business conference, so I actually need my official clothes that are in the big suitcase. And then they're gonna let you buy new clothes and they're gonna pay for them. I had a friend of mine who was coming to a conference in Nashville and his suitcase got delayed. So he called the airline and he was like, hey, I have a very important meeting. I'm leading a presentation tomorrow. I cannot go in my pajamas. I need official clothes. And they were like, oh, go ahead and buy. We're gonna reimburse you. We're gonna give you the money back. He was like, is there any limit on how much I can spend? And they're like, no, just as long as it makes sense, use the usual brands. And he's like, I always buy Polo Ralph Lauren. So he bought stuff for like $3,000 and they paid back from the company, for 2 days. And then his baggage came and he was very happy. If the baggage is lost, they may ask you for articles that you have in it. So you may as well say like, oh yeah, I have those clothes and this and that, $5,000, I think a girl, her luggage was lost and they gave her like $3,000 from Alaska Airlines and she had stuff for like $500. So keep that in mind. At the customs, you need to be ready with your documents and you need to know your job offer and you should be able to explain what you're going to be doing. Like when you're arriving, the gentleman is going to ask you, like, so what are you doing? Where are you going? What's going to be happening? And you need to be able to answer to that. Is there Wi-Fi at the airports? Yes, obviously, most airports have easy Wi-Fi with no passwords. Sometimes in Turkey, for example, they have this strange system where they need to send you a text message on your phone, and that's kind of annoying, but most airports are pretty easy. When you're traveling to countries outside of European Union, one of the easiest way to lose money is getting charged for your cellular data, for internet on your phone. So for example, when you're traveling within European Union, of course, you have internet included, but going to US, Dubai, Turkey, Macedonia, Egypt, wherever you're going, the problem with smartphone is that if you put them on airplane mode and you remove the airplane mode, the internet is automatically going on. So I would always first turn off the cellular data and then put airplane mode on, because it remembers the last thing that you did before putting airplane mode on. So when you remove airplane mode on, when you remove the airplane mode, you wouldn't have data. In general, when I'm in the US, I always keep my phone at the beginning on airplane mode and I just use Wi-Fi. Because in 2 minutes, I had 3 friends who paid over $200 in 3 minutes for internet only. In Egypt, in the US, it gets high very quickly. So keep airplane mode on and use Wi-Fi. Never ever exchange money at the airport. I think that's letter A, and you never exchange money on the airport, but some people still make the mistake and they do exchange there. The rates are obviously very bad and commission is very high. So that's not a good option. Exchange money upfront. Best option in Bulgaria is like exchange bureaus, money currency exchange. I don't know what it is in the different countries in Europe. Is it the banks or is it also like money change places? But you need to be careful about the rate and about commissions. When you combine those two, you're going to see what's the best deal for you. How to get where you want to go. There is a nice hack that you guys can use. Of course, in our countries abroad, I bet you're using Google Maps. And there is like transportation, how to get wherever you're going. But one thing that I'm doing, especially when I'm driving, I do offline maps. I don't know if you guys have been using that, but offline maps are awesome. For example, when we went to Australia, obviously I didn't have data because it was kind of expensive, but I downloaded the maps of all the areas we are going to be going. And you can use GPS navigation with the offline maps without having cellular data, without having internet. I'm not sure if that works for the public transportation. It definitely works for driving, for cars. And I usually drive, so I don't use much public transportation, but that's what I do. Offline maps on Google is very smart. What's the best way to book tickets? I always do it this way. I go on Skyscanner, find the cheapest ticket, but then I'll buy the ticket on the airline's website because it's always much better to buy on the airline's website than buying to, let's say, Skyscanner. I know that you guys have in Czech Republic Kiwi, and Kiwi seems to be good, but I always buy to the airline because if something happens, they're much more willing to cooperate and help me. And I'm always very careful with hidden fees. What I mean by that, let's say I want to fly Sofia, Nashville, and then I'm going to be coming back from New York to Sofia. Instead of round trip up here on the left where the red is, I'm going to choose multiple cities. That's how you book from different destinations at one time. Instead of buying only Sofia, Nashville, and then only New York, you just do multiple cities and you can sort them by recommendation, cheapest, earliest, latest, duration, whatever works best for you. But then look here carefully that the first one, the economy light, is the cheapest, but it doesn't have a big suitcase. Or if you're rebooking, there is a 293 BGN, that's like 200 bucks, or like 170 bucks that you may need to pay. Now in Bulgaria, we have special deal for students with full refund if you have any visa problems, or you can change one of the dates for free. So I'm gonna advise you, try to figure it out in your countries. Do you have this special deal as well? So we always we have an agent who buys the tickets because they have one change for free instead of paying $180. And everybody has baggage, and we organize them by groups instead of everybody buying individually and making mistakes. Now, quick story time. I was booked a ticket. I didn't book it myself, but it was the cheapest ticket from Bulgaria to get to Nashville. The problem with this ticket was that it was going to New York, but it was connecting from different airports. So there was like 3 hours or something, 2.5 hours. But by the time I pick up my luggage and I was arriving in LaGuardia airport, but I was taking off from Newark, and the traffic, it was like peak hours, so it was hour and a half. So I go and I have option of getting a taxi or getting a bus, a shuttle that's much cheaper. So I go and I tell the lady, hey, take me on the shuttle. She's like, okay, 40 bucks. What time is your flight? And I tell her what time is my flight. And she's like, wait a minute, you know you're not gonna make it, right? And I'm like, I hope I will. And she's like, no, you're not gonna make it. You don't have enough time. And I'm like, so what is the alternative? And she's like, just take a taxi. And I'm like, how much is the taxi? She's like, 150 bucks. And that was like 7, 8 years ago. And I'm like, no, it's not an option. Just give me the shuttle. I'm gonna make it. I didn't make it. And I didn't know that they're gonna rebook me on the next flight. So I was thinking, how am I gonna get there? Should I get bus? Should I get another flight? How much is the ticket? What am I gonna lose? Eventually, they just rebooked me on the next flight, and I flew to Nashville, and it was all good. But also rookies mistakes that we make because sometimes we don't have enough time to connect. So I would recommend, if you guys are not experienced, book with an agent. If you're experienced enough, I've flew more than 600 times in my life, so I can book my own tickets. But just be careful about those things. What are the best airlines in the US? Pretty much I always book the cheapest one. I'm not loyal to one airline, even though I have loyalty programs for all of them. I just book the cheapest. My most favorite is Southwest because you have two check bags for free, which is nice, and they're always funny and so on. And you guys need to be careful with Frontier, Spirit, and Allegiant. Why? Because the way that it works is that if there is a delay or you miss a flight or whatever it is, Delta, United, and American have, let's say, 5 flights per day. But the low cost, Frontier, Spirit, they only have 1 flight every 2 days. So one of the summers there was a storm in Nashville. The plane didn't take off from Nashville to Denver, and our people booked the cheapest tickets with Frontier, and they couldn't take them on the plane for like 2 days. So at the end, they went by train from Nashville to Denver, which took 2 days. So low cost, I wouldn't recommend in the US. Better book one of the legitimate Southwest, Delta, United, or American. It's gonna save a lot of pain. Booking, I bet some of you are using Booking. I use Booking, I use Airbnb, whatever has better deal. Of course, I made a Genius is the loyalty program of Booking. And one thing that many of you wouldn't know is that it's better to book from the mobile app rather than the website of Booking. Because you may have the same loyalty program number, the same level, you use your profile, but on the mobile app, they have better discounts sometimes. It's mobile app only discounts. So if you're on the website, you wouldn't see the discounts. So Booking, always book on the mobile app, not the website. Best phone and internet choices. We used to do the standard ones with Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T. From this summer on, it's already tested, and we know that it works very well with Air Allo, Mint Mobile, Visible. So those are eSIM cards that you can literally set up for like 15 minutes at the airport, and you're all good. If you go to AT&T store, takes hour and a half or 2 hours for one person. So it's super annoying, super slow. So that's what we're going to be doing from now on. Just eSIMs, get them online, quick and easy, no trouble. It has calls, it has internet for the tablets, it has everything. That's why it's important to have cellular data, if possible, on your iPad. If not, you can make a hotspot, but if you make a hotspot from the phone, then the phone dies and then it's a lot of trouble. So better have cellular data on your iPads. Banks, that's another topic that I'm very passionate about, and I think that would be another big thing that you can learn today. There are, let's say, three big banks in the US: Bank of America, Chase, and Wells Fargo. Surprisingly or not, today I was checking, I thought that Bank of America has the most branches. Actually, Wells Fargo has the most branches, but the one that we usually open an account with is Bank of America. Because number one, they have a student account that's free of charge. Usually checking account is like 10 up to $15 a month for service maintenance. And Bank of America has student account with no fee, and they're the easiest one to get a credit card with. And you're going to see that credit cards are pretty important. Chase, I would say that JP Morgan Chase is the most prestigious bank, and they have amazing credit cards. So once you work with Bank of America, you can move to Chase. But Chase usually charges like $12 a month unless you have $1,500 in your checking account or you have a direct deposit every month. I have a direct deposit from the company, so they don't charge me anything. But usually they do. Bank of America, I would open a student account at the beginning of the summer. And once 1 or 2 months are gone, I'm going to apply for the travel reward credit card. Travel reward credit card is very good for two reasons. It doesn't have any fee, so they don't charge you anything on an annual basis to have the card. And the second advantage is that it doesn't have international transaction fee. So when you're using it back in Europe, it wouldn't charge you like 3% that you're using it abroad. Once you do that, you can move to Chase. Chase has amazing credit cards. I have maybe the best credit card that Chase has, Sapphire Reserved. But I know many things. If you want to become an expert in credit cards, this guy, Daniel Brown, is very good at credit cards, and he's going to teach you how to do it. He taught me last year, I watched his videos, and I learned about the Chase trifecta. And what are the main benefits of credit cards? Number one, you get a lot of cash back if you use them, of course. That's my cash back in the last 2 years. The one on top is from this year. Haven't calculated total, but last year I made over $3,000 from cash back. $3,000 in cash back. Of course, I use my credit card a lot. A lot of money go to the credit card, so you're not going to make that much, but that's the first benefit, having cash back. Second benefit, with credit cards, you have a lot of special deals. When you go on Chase offers, you're going to see like 50 different countries. 101 results, 101 companies offering, 15% cash back, 10% cash back. They have the delivery, DoorDash, you get $5 a month. Uber, you get $5 a month. So a lot of different things. And number one advantage is that you have access with these credit cards, the Chase Sapphire Reserved, you have access to lounges at the airports. So for Chase Sapphire Reserved, I'm paying $550 per year, but they give me 350, I believe, or 300 back when I spend it on traveling. So it's only 250. And I edit my wife for 75 more, But when you go to lounges, I can invite 2 guests with me. So me and my wife go and we take 4 people with us. And in the lounge, of course, we have free drinks, free food. So that's at least 30 bucks per visit. When I take 6 people, that's already like, 180 bucks from one visit. And when I travel, all the times I'm at lounges. So that's a good thing. Now, when you have your online banking with the banks, it's very important to do your online banking, and you can use Zelle to transfer money. So my Chase account, I can transfer money to Thai's Bank of America account through Zelle. There is no transaction fee, no nothing. You just transfer money. Venmo is the American Revolut. So a lot of people would ask you, do you have Venmo? Can I Venmo you? It's kind of like, can I Revolut you? And it's, oh, I don't have an account. You can make an account. It doesn't have any annual fees, but you need to use your email for verification because once you're back in Europe, obviously you're not going to have your American phone number. So one girl wanted to send me money the other week. She's like, oh man, it's asking for verification and I don't have my phone number yet. So it's very frustrating. Better use your email as a verification. And yeah, Venmo is a good thing. Main benefits of credit cards are good, but you need to remember one very important thing. Always pay off the total amount due, not the minimum amount due. What that means is that educated people would end up having many benefits and make money from credit cards. Uneducated people are going to waste a lot of money and they're going to lose a lot of money from credit cards. Let's say this month I spent $1,000 on my credit card. I have 2 options. If I pay the total amount due of $1,000, there is no interest, no nothing. I'm good. If I pay the minimum amount due, it would be 50 bucks only. And I looked at an article. If you only spend $1,000 and you only pay the minimum amount due every month, it's going to take you about 6 years. And guess how much you're going to pay off at the end? You're going to pay off $13,000. So never pay just the minimum amount. You always pay the full amount off and you're good. You're going to make cash back. You're going to have all the benefits, but pay everything that you spent at the end of the month. There are many cool applications that you can use. I love Zillow, for example. When I'm traveling, I'm big on real estate. So I love checking out the different properties and there is like pictures and so on. But in America, they have many apps. Just wanted to mention about Zillow. It's kind of fun. Like when you do grocery shopping, Walmart is obviously the #1 choice. You can pre-order it. So you just go and pick it up instead of shopping in the grocery store. That would save some time. We do groceries on Sunday, so we don't waste time during the week. On fast food, I'm not big on fast food, but obviously in America, it's a thing. So Burger King has a special app that gives you deals. You can get like 2 burgers for $7. So that's good. Little Caesars, not Pizza Hut. Oh, that's a mistake. In my opinion, Little Caesars is the best pizza. If you get the stuffed crust, it's pretty good. Subway has sub of the day, but always when I go to any store or fast food, I'm gonna ask what's the deal of the day, because they usually have a special of the day. So if a pizza is 20 bucks, wow, today we have this one for like 12 bucks and it has like whatever. So you always ask for the special deals. In America, they have many special deals. So you need to take advantage. End of summer traveling, I'm gonna go to some basics, top destinations that I recommend for beginners: New York, Miami, LA, Las Vegas. Those are the mainstream. Not gonna get into too many details because there's like 100 different options, but remember that the East Coast is cheaper than the West Coast. I mean, the flights only are gonna be 150 bucks more expensive. In general, LA is very expensive. Vegas is not that expensive on accommodation. Vegas is actually pretty cheap. But New York is for I like it crazy. I like it busy. Uptown, skyscrapers and shows and everything. And Miami is cool, but very humid. You go to the night bar, in 2 minutes, you're like all sweaty. Vegas is dry heat. It's awesome for having fun in nightlife. LA is huge, a lot of traffic. It's nice, but you need to know where you're going and what's happening. Grand Canyon is definitely worth it. Washington, D.C. is a very good choice as well, if you like such architecture. How much time do you need in a place? If you're in New York, 3 up to 5 days. If you're more like the express tourist, 3 days are enough in every place, visiting the main sightseeing. You go to Empire State Building and you go to Times Square and you go to the Statue of Liberty, and 3 days are enough for the main things. But if you want to take it easy and explore, it's a good thing. If you're in New York, you can as well jump to Boston or Washington, D.C. It's like 4 hours away. Niagara Falls is like 7 hours. To do it in one day is challenging, doable by car, but it's going to be very busy. But if you want to sleep one night nearby, you can go to Niagara Falls as well. It's fun. You're not gonna be allowed to go to. Actually, you guys are because you have ESTA. Bulgarians don't have ESTA. So with J1, you cannot get out and come back. If you get your ESTA, you might be able to go on the Canadian side as well. And there is a lot of shows. I love, for example, US Open. Love tennis, so went in September to US Open, Moulin Rouge, Broadway, just amazing performances. But of course, depends on how much money you want to spend, because like Broadway is like 350, US Open is like depending on the game, but final of US Open is over $1,000. So I wouldn't recommend at beginning of career to spend that much money. If you're going to Miami, 3 4 days, I mean, they have beach, they have some skyscrapers, but that's about it. There is Miami and there is Miami Beach, so they're next to each other. We usually stay in Miami Beach. You can rent a car and go down to Key West. That's the most southern point of Florida. It's right across from Cuba, and I believe as well it's the most southern point the of the United States as well. Nightlife is very good, but it's very expensive. Whoever has been to the US knows that alcohol there is extremely, extremely expensive. Okay. Now, moving forward, if you're going to the West Coast, it's always very tempting because they're very nearby, LA, and then, Vegas is like 2 hours away, and then Grand Canyon, but LA is huge. You can spend the week in LA. There is like many different things to do. Santa Monica is the beach. If you've watched Baywatch on Beach, that's where it happened. Hollywood, Universal Studios is a lot of fun. Beverly Hills, Rodeo Drive is where all the luxury stores are. Just in LA, you need to know what you're doing. The first time I went, I felt like it's miserable, dirty, didn't like it. Second time, my wife did a lot of research. We went to the good places, loved it, fell in love with it. It was amazing. Grand Canyon is great. If you do it in one day, it's gonna be a lot of traveling. If you can sleep for a night, it would be much better. And there is like many beautiful places. And if you're a nature lover, Sequoia Park is where the biggest tree is. I think it's a General Sherman, the biggest tree in the world. So it's like quite a lot of fun to visit. Wherever I go, one of my rules is that when I'm traveling, I'll try to find the best hotel, restaurant, or bar, and I'll just go get something to experience the atmosphere. Maybe some of you have watched what was it? The Hangover. Hangover is the name in English, the movie, or Prison Break. So it was in Caesar's Palace. So when I went to Vegas, I was like, okay, Caesar Palace, need to explore it a little bit, How to find the best restaurant and places. There used to be some other apps, but I feel like currently Google Maps and TripAdvisor are the best ones. So pretty simple. Do not buy trips from people selling on the street or on the square. Why I'm saying that? When we were in New York, there was a guy who was like, hey, boat trip, Statue of Liberty, $35 only. And then you go to the harbor and it's $20 for the very same trip. So obviously they always sell a little more expensive. Do buy tickets upfront online if you're going to main attractions. If you're going to Rockefeller or if you're going to Empire State Building, you want to buy it upfront because they have time slots like 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7, 7:30. And if you go, you can go. There are two different lines, one for the people who already have tickets and one for the people who are buying tickets at the spot. And it may take you like hour and a half or 2 hours. Or even worse, they might be full for the day and not sell any more tickets. So you need to buy upfront. Fun activities you can do. If you guys like adrenaline, the roller coaster parks, Six Flags, Cedar Point, they're a lot of fun. I've been to Six Flags, just a lot of fun. All those things that are high adrenaline. Water parks are exciting. Universal Studios is amazing. I had no idea what's Universal Studios. We went in LA and it was definitely worth it. National parks are, of course, beautiful and cool. And a helicopter ride. For example, we did heli ride in Vegas, downtown Vegas. It was very cool. And I think it was about $100. So it wasn't something that expensive. I know they have in New York, but I think it's about $300. So you need to check based on the destination you're going to. Shopping, I guess you realize that when you go to the US, sales tax is paid separately. So when I arrived in the US the first time at the airport, I saw a price of $9.80. I gave $10 and the lady was like $10.70. I'm like, what do you mean? It was $9.80. And she's like, well, sales tax. But there are 5 states in the US that have no sales tax: Alaska, Oregon, Montana, Delaware, and New Hampshire. So if you have some friends, for example, who are in Oregon and you want to buy iPhone or MacBook, something more expensive, it might be worth to order it at their place and they're going to bring it. Because I mean, on $1,500, it's going to be $150 of sales tax. If you can save it, that's a good thing. Now, when you're doing your shopping at the end of the summer, there are a couple good outlets. Ross is the most basic one. Ross doesn't have that much choice, but it's the lowest price. Then the next level is TJ Maxx, more choice, a little more expensive, and then comes the Nordstrom Rack, which is the one with the most options, and Nordstrom is the upper level, so it's not that cheap anymore, but there is like many good brands. And we're going to take you at the end of the summer to such outlets. So during the summer, you shouldn't spend much money, but we're going to take you to outlets where you can buy very good clothes. Like, let's say Tommy Hilfiger, you buy it for like, $20, whatever. And then there is the brand outlets. That's the one that we go to in Gatlinburg. So it's many little stores next to each other. And there is like Nike, Adidas, Levi, Tommy Hilfiger, Under Armour, pretty much everything you can think of. Polo Ralph Lauren, USPA, and so on and so on. And they have very good deals. You can register for a code. They give you extra discounts. Buy two, get one for free. So it's pretty affordable, to be honest. Now, if you buy whatever you buy from the US legally, when you're coming back to Europe, you should pay sales tax here in Europe. So you pay the tax that's like VAT, it's like 20%. So 12 summers in the US, buying iPads, phones, they stopped me twice, and both times it was in Amsterdam. The first time I got away and they didn't make me pay, but the second time I bought a drone that was very expensive, like $5,000, and they made me pay $1,000 in taxes. So if you're buying an iPhone or a MacBook, maybe you don't want to keep it in your box. Because if you have your iPhone in your pocket, they're not going to say like, hey, let me scan your phone and see if it's a brand new one. But if they're like, hey, can I check your bag? And you open and there is an iPhone in a box, they're going to be like, oh, you bought it in the US, you need to pay 20% tax. So keep that in mind. Of course, they should stop you on the security point and check you, which chances are like 5%, but it happened to me twice in 12 summers, both times in Amsterdam. So I don't love traveling to Amsterdam, to be honest, but sometimes happens. How to exchange your money at the end of the summer here? I'm not going to be the total expert because I think it's a little different in different countries, and you should ask more experienced people in your country. But of course, Revolut is an option. I personally do not like Revolut because I cannot withdraw too much money, let's say here in Bulgaria, if I have them on Revolut. I love transferring it to my bank, and I've mastered the way to do that in Bulgaria, but you should figure it out in your own country. Like Wise, it used to be called TransferWise, and it's a financial service that basically they transfer your money for a smaller fee. So it's pretty good, but I've never used it because in Bulgaria, we have 0.1% transaction fee when they're transferring to a bank, and we have the so-called term deposit. Term deposit means that you can withdraw whatever amount of money you want on the due date. Like, let's say if it's a weekly term deposit, every Monday I can withdraw whatever amount of money without paying anything, any taxes. If it's a monthly term deposit, every, let's say, 10th of the month is my due date. Every 10th of the month, I can withdraw 10K, 20K, 50K, 100K, and I wouldn't pay a single cent. So that's how I do it in Bulgaria. I have term deposit. I'll take the money out from the bank. I'll go exchange it in a money change, currency exchange place. They have the best rates. And then I'll deposit it back in the bank to an ATM. So I don't pay for depositing, because in Bulgaria, at least, when you deposit money in your account, they charge you again. Or if I have big amount of money in the bank, at least I'm gonna call and I'm gonna always ask for special rate. Always ask your bank for special rate. So the standard rate is like, let's say, if the standard rate is like $1.2 for €1, online banking would give you the chance to request special rate. So it would be 1.15. But if you call the bank and you're like, hey, I want even better rate, they would give you 1.1. At least that's how it works in Bulgaria. I'm pretty sure it works the same way in Europe as well. So I would always call and ask for special rate. And when they give me the special rate, I'm like, oh man, is that the best you can do? I was hoping a little bit better. And they're like, okay, we can do a little bit better. So I would get much better rate at the end. You can take up to $10,000 in cash at the end of the summer. You have the legal rights to do that. Am I advising you to take $10,000 in cash? I'm not. I've done it because I feel comfortable. If you feel nervous, if you think you may lose it or whatever, don't do it, obviously. To me, no one knows if I'm carrying 20 bucks or 10K. So I'm fine going with 10K. But if you're not fine, don't do it. But legally, you have the rights up to 10K. If you have more than 10K, you need to declare it when you're going in your own country. If you don't declare it and they catch you, then you may get in trouble. If you guys have any questions, I'm gonna open up for Q&A now, but if you have any questions, again, that's my Instagram, so that's the best way to get in touch. And I'm gonna put a story with a link to the recording. It's gonna be on YouTube, and on a story in Instagram, I'm gonna have a link to the YouTube video. So those are the main things that I wanted to talk about, and I'm open for some questions now. You can ask, you can text, whatever works better for you.
If I may have a question, I'm curious into the stuff, as you said with the drone, as you were carrying the drone from the US in the box. So there is like a legal background that whatever you buy in the US, you have to pay the tax whenever you come to the Europe, right?
Yes, sir. It's called the Protection of European Manufacturing. So the European Union accepted this law that, hey, if you buy outside of European Union, when you're coming to Europe, you need to pay 20% VAT. It means that we need to produce in Europe, and we are protecting our production by doing that. Of course, like 95 out of 100 times, they wouldn't stop you at the customs and they wouldn't check if you have any technology and stuff. But if they do, then there is a problem. And of course, even if the iPhone is in your pocket, they can scan. There is a code that they can scan, and they can see when you bought the product. But they never do that. If you have iPhone in your pocket, no one's gonna tell you, let me scan your code and see when did you buy it. That never happens.
Alrighty. Thank you. Makes sense.
Sure.
If I may,
Mhm.
do you maybe have any experience with car rentals?
Oh, a lot of experience. All of it.
What would you recommend? Because I've seen a lot of varying car rentals and a lot of varying reviews,
Mhm.
and I'm a bit confused as to which ones could be the best.
We are gonna use this year Hertz, and there is the so-called triple A. If you put AAA, it's an association that you register with triple A, and you can get better rates on Hertz. One thing to keep in mind with rentals is that if you pick it up from one place, you pick up, like, let's say New York, but you're driving to Boston to fly from Boston, then there is a higher fee for dropping off at the different location. But then you can be very nice and you can be like, hey, I'm just a college student here for the summer, trying to save up some money. do you guys think there is any way to waive the fee? Like maybe I don't pay this extra fee? And sometimes they would be like, yeah, I can do that for you. If they can, they would just waive it and you wouldn't pay extra. And usually the way that it works is that if there was like you were driving for 1,000 miles, like for every mile that you're away from the location you dropped it off at, they charge you per this mile. So the further you drop it off, the more they charge you for that.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Sure. And
Do you have
you can
any
drive your,
tips on? Sorry.
I wanted just to say that you can drive with your international driver's license, but you need to check with the state. Like, let's say, I think there is like one or two states that are like, oh no, you need to have our driver's license. But we always drive with the European ones.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
All right, go ahead, Carlito.
All right. Do you have any tips on saving money with your country's taxes?
I mean, it's good to pay the taxes because if you save on taxes, you may end up in a situation you don't like. So
True.
we have like as an exchange student in the US, there is a law that again you need to check because I know it for Bulgaria, obviously perfectly, but there is a double taxation, avoiding double taxation. So in Bulgaria, the law is that okay, I'm gonna pay the taxes in Bulgaria because they're lower than the US, but up to $8,000, I shouldn't pay any taxes. And if I made more than 8K, let's say I made 20K, I should pay 10% is our gains profit tax for 12K only. But you guys should see how it is in your countries. Of course, how many of the people who go on work and travel actually declare all the money they made and pay taxes? That's another question. But I'm saying what's legally correct. And from there on, I know that in Bulgaria, people are not really declaring whatever they made in the US, but I'm not saying that's the right thing. So we advise like, hey, since in Bulgaria it's only 10% as well, it's like just pay your taxes. Always pay your taxes.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. And I think it might be smart to make a company as well at some point. I know that Ivan and in Bulgaria, we make our own companies, and that's how you optimize taxes at some point when you start making more money. All right. Anything else, or you guys are good for now? Well, if there is anything, you can let me know on Instagram and I'm gonna try to reply. I'm gonna upload the recording from this meeting on YouTube and I'll put a link so you guys could watch the recording. I guess there was quite a lot of information, so you may need a couple of screenshots and reviewing some of the information. Hope it was helpful. And you guys have a great summer in the US.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Have a nice evening.
Have a nice evening.